Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to reflect, not on what's loud and glaring, but on what's often overlooked, dismissed, or misunderstood. I want to guide your attention to something so fundamental, so powerful, yet so quietly unassuming. It's silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the presence of something deeper. You see, silence isn't just an empty void. It's a space full of potential, waiting to be discovered. It's a gift we've all been given, yet many of us are too afraid to open it. And why is that? Because in silence, we come face to face with something we cannot outrun, ourselves. In a world that bombards us with distractions at every turn, silence is treated as an enemy, a threat to the comfort of constant stimulation. But let me tell you something powerful. Silence is no enemy. Silence is a teacher, a mentor, a guide. It has a way of stripping away the superficial, the noise that clouds our minds and clutters our hearts. It brings us back to the core of who we are, to what truly matters. It doesn't shout its lessons at us. It whispers. And it's in that whisper that we find clarity. But to hear it, we must be willing to stop, to listen, to embrace what we so often avoid. Silence, my friends, is more than just a pause. It's the foundation. It's where we learn to truly listen, not just to others, but to our own inner voice, to the truths we might have buried beneath layers of doubt and fear. It's where our thoughts begin to settle and take form, where focus sharpens and resilience grows. Silence is where the seeds of creativity are planted, where the brushstrokes of innovation begin to take shape, and where the strength to face life's storms is quietly built. But silence also has its demands. It demands that you be present. It demands that you confront what's real, that you look within and face what's there, unfiltered and raw. And for many, that's the hardest part. Because silence doesn't hide the truth, it reveals it. And the truth, in its purest form, is not always comfortable. But if you're willing to embrace it, silence can be the most honest and transformative companion you'll ever know. So today we'll explore this often avoided topic, this underestimated force that has the power to change the way we see ourselves and the world around us. We'll dive into its lessons, unravel its mysteries, and harness its power to sharpen our focus, build resilience, and tap into the creative wells we didn't even know existed. Silence is a symphony, a master conductor of life's most important lessons. And when you learn to hear its melody, you'll never be the same. Let's open ourselves up to what silence has to teach, because sometimes the most profound revelations come not from what's spoken, but from what's unsaid. Let's embrace it together. The journey begins here. Silence teaches us to listen. Silence is the ultimate teacher, and its first lesson is the art of listening. In silence, we learn to hear not just the external sounds of the world, but the quieter, more profound voices within. Listening is a skill we all think we possess, yet so few of us truly practice. Too often we are quick to respond, to interject, to make our voices heard. But silence, it teaches us patience. It teaches us to pause, to absorb, and to understand. Imagine for a moment a conversation where you don't simply wait for your turn to speak, but instead immerse yourself in the other person's words. Imagine hearing not just what they say, but what they don't say, the hesitations, the unspoken emotions, the weight behind their words. Silence allows us to tune into these subtleties. It's in those pauses, those breaths between sentences, that the deepest truths often reside. But listening isn't just about others, it's also about listening to yourself. When was the last time you truly heard your own thoughts without the static of the world around you? We are so inundated with noise, notifications, opinions, endless chatter, that our inner voices are often drowned out. Silence clears the air. It creates a space where your thoughts can rise to the surface, where your dreams, doubts, and desires can be heard. And in that space, you begin to understand yourself in ways you never have before. Listening, real listening, is an act of humility. It requires you to set aside your ego, to silence your own mind for a moment, and to be fully present. And that presence is powerful, it's transformative. When you listen with intent, you forge connections that are deeper, more authentic. You begin to see people as they are, not as you assume them to be. You begin to hear, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Silence also teaches us that not all answers are immediate. Sometimes the greatest wisdom lies in waiting, in sitting with the silence and letting it speak. In a world that demands quick responses and instant solutions, silence reminds us that not every question needs an answer right away. Some questions need time. They need space. And in that space, clarity emerges. The beauty of silence as a teacher is that it doesn't impose, it invites. It doesn't rush, it waits, and in that patience, in that stillness, we learn to listen, not just to the world, not just to others, but to the very essence of life itself. Listening becomes more than a skill, it becomes a way of being, a way of connecting with the world on a level that transcends words. As we move forward, let this lesson of listening guide us, for it is the foundation upon which all the other lessons of silence are built. When you truly listen, you open the door to understanding, to growth, and to the boundless possibilities that lie within the quiet. Let us keep this in mind as we explore further. Silence fosters strength. If silence teaches us to listen, then what it offers next is something even more profound: strength. But not the kind of strength you see on a battlefield or in the spotlight. No, silence cultivates the kind of strength that grows in the shadows, unseen but unshakable. It's the strength of knowing yourself, of standing firm when the noise of the world threatens to drown you out. That's the strength silence fosters. And let me tell you, it's a power few truly understand. Why is silence so powerful? Because it forces you to confront what's inside. In the stillness, there's no escaping your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. Silence holds a mirror up to your soul, and it doesn't flinch. And isn't that the scariest thing of all? To face yourself? But here's the beauty of it. Once you stop running from what's inside and choose to sit with it, you find that it isn't as terrifying as you thought. You find that you're stronger than you ever believed. Think about the times in life when you faced adversity, real adversity, the kind that shakes you to your core. The world may have been loud in those moments, full of opinions, advice, and distractions. But where did you go for clarity, for strength? You went to that quiet place within. You may not have realized it then, but silence was your refuge, your ally. It gave you the space to gather yourself, to breathe, and to decide what your next step would be. That's the strength it fosters, not reactive strength, but deliberate, purposeful strength. But let's be real, sitting in silence isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, it's raw. You might feel like the walls are closing in, like the quiet is exposing every flaw you've tried to bury. And that's where the true challenge lies. Strength isn't built when things are easy. It's built when you push through the discomfort, when you embrace the struggle and let it shape you. Silence is the training ground for that kind of strength. It strips away the noise, the distractions, and forces you to rely on what's inside. And when you do, you find that you are more resilient, more capable, more powerful than you ever imagined. Let me tell you something. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up. And silence gives you the clarity to do just that. It reminds you that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need to shout to be heard or fight to be seen. Real strength doesn't need an audience. It exists in the quiet confidence of someone who knows their own worth, who has faced their fears in silence and come out stronger on the other side. So as we continue this journey into the lessons of silence, hold on to this truth. Silence doesn't make you weak. It reveals your strength. It builds it, and it prepares you for whatever comes next. Let's see what silence has in store for us next. Silence sharpens your focus. Silence is a magnifying glass for the mind. In a world of unrelenting noise, where distractions pull us in 100 directions at once, silence gives us the opportunity to regain clarity and sharpen our focus. It creates an environment where the static fades and the important things come into view. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of purpose. It is a tool that transforms scattered thoughts into a singular, powerful force of intention. Think about the last time you truly focused on something. Maybe it was solving a problem, learning a skill, or planning your next move in life. What allowed you to reach that state of concentration? It wasn't noise. It wasn't the chaos around you. It was the moment you let go of the outside distractions and allowed yourself to zero in. That's the power of silence. It clears the mental clutter and makes space for what truly matters. In silence, your priorities reveal themselves. It's like stepping into a room where all the unnecessary furniture has been removed. Suddenly you can see the room for what it is. You can see the structure, the foundation. You can see what belongs and what doesn't. Silence gives you that clarity for your mind. It allows you to sort through the chaos, to sift through what's important and what's just noise. And in that clarity, focus is born. But silence doesn't just provide clarity, it trains the mind to resist distraction. In silence, you learn the discipline of focus. You learn how to direct your thoughts instead of letting them wander aimlessly. You learn how to stay present in the moment, how to give your full attention to what's in front of you. And in a world where attention is constantly being pulled in every direction, that discipline is a superpower. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it flow. Whatever you name it, it's that state of heightened focus where time seems to stand still, where you're fully immersed in what you're doing. Silence is the gateway to that state. It's what allows you to block out the noise, to tune in to your work, your goals, your dreams. It's in that state where breakthroughs happen, where problems are solved, where creativity flourishes. But let's not forget, silence is a choice. It's not always easy to step away from the noise, to turn off the distractions, to face the stillness. But when you do, you find that it's not the stillness that's empty, it's the noise that was meaningless. Silence sharpens your mind like a whetstone sharpens a blade. It hones your ability to think clearly, to act decisively, to pursue your goals with laser-like precision. So as we continue to explore the lessons of silence, remember this: focus is not found in the loud and chaotic moments. It is found in the quiet. It is cultivated in the stillness. And once you've sharpened your focus, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Let's take this clarity forward as we discover what else silence has to teach us. Silence is where creativity is born in the noise of daily life. Creativity often feels like a fleeting visitor. It seems to knock at our doors at the most unexpected times, only to slip away before we fully grasp its message. But what if I told you that creativity isn't random? What if I told you it thrives in a specific, often overlooked environment? That environment is silence. Not the awkward silence we try to fill, nor the forced silence we endure, but the purposeful, intentional silence where ideas are free to take root and flourish. Creativity doesn't just exist in silence. It begins there. It's in those quiet moments when the world's demands recede that your mind is free to wander, to imagine, to create. Silence creates a canvas, a vast expanse where your thoughts can stretch without boundaries. It invites you to explore the uncharted corners of your mind where the seeds of innovation lie dormant, waiting for the stillness to awaken them. Think of the great ideas that have shaped history, masterpieces of art, groundbreaking inventions, revolutionary solutions. They didn't emerge from a place of chaos. They were born in moments of solitude when their creators dared to step away from the distractions and immerse themselves in the silence. Silence allows the mind to make connections it might otherwise miss. It's the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious, where inspiration often hides. But let's not romanticize it too much. Creativity in silence isn't always a serene process. It can be messy, frustrating, even uncomfortable. When you strip away the noise, you're left with just you and your thoughts, and that can be intimidating. Your doubts might surface. Your inner critic might get louder. But that's where the magic happens. Silence doesn't just nurture creativity, it challenges it, refines it, tests its limit. It's in facing these challenges that your most original and impactful ideas are born. In silence, creativity isn't just about producing something, it's about discovering something. It's about digging deep and finding that spark within you that no one else can replicate. Silence strips away external influences and expectations, leaving you with your most authentic self. It's in that authenticity where true creativity resides. And here's the secret: silence isn't just a tool for artists or inventors. It's for anyone with a problem to solve, a dream to pursue, a story to tell. It's for you when you're stuck, when you feel like the answers are just out of reach. Don't turn to more noise. Turn to silence. Give yourself the space to think, to dream, to create. You might be surprised by what you find. As we move forward, keep this lesson close. Silence isn't just a pause, it's a beginning. It's the birthplace of ideas that can change not just your world, but the world. Let it be your creative sanctuary, your endless well of inspiration. The journey into creativity begins in the stillness. Dare to enter it and see where it takes you. Silence builds resilience. Silence, my friends, isn't just about listening or finding clarity. It's about endurance. It's about fortifying yourself for the storms that life will inevitably throw your way. In silence, we find resilience, not the loud, defiant kind that demands attention, but the quiet, unyielding strength that stands firm no matter what comes. Resilience isn't built when things are easy, it's built when things are hard. And silence is the crucible where that resilience is forged. You see, silence gives you the space to face life's challenges without the distractions of the world. It strips away the noise, the opinions, the chaos, leaving you with nothing but the raw truth of your situation and your own inner resources. And that truth, as uncomfortable as it might be, is where growth begins. Silence doesn't allow you to escape, it forces you to confront. It forces you to adapt, to find solutions, to rise above. Life isn't always kind. It will test you, push you, break you down. But it's in those moments of silence, those moments when you're alone with your thoughts, your fears, your doubts, that resilience is born. Resilience doesn't come from avoiding the hard times, it comes from enduring them. And silence is your training ground. It's where you learn to sit with discomfort, to accept uncertainty, to face your fears head on. It's where you discover that you are stronger than you ever imagined. But let's be clear, resilience isn't just about enduring. It's about growing. It's about learning from the silence, taking the lessons it offers, and using them to build a stronger foundation for the future. Silence teaches you patience. It teaches you that not every storm needs to be fought with force. Sometimes the best response is to wait it out, to let the storm pass while you remain rooted, unshaken. Silence is the space where you learn to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing yourself. Think about the times in your life when you've been knocked down, when the odds were stacked against you. What got you through? Was it the noise, the chaos, the distractions? Or was it those quiet moments when you dug deep, when you found strength you didn't know you had? Silence reveals what you're made of. It strips away the superficial and shows you the core of who you are. And in that core, you find resilience. Resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being unyielding. It's about knowing that even if you bend, even if you fall, you can rise again. And silence is what gives you that certainty, that confidence. It reminds you that no matter how loud the world gets, no matter how chaotic life becomes, there is a place of strength within you that cannot be touched. As we move forward, let this truth guide us. Silence doesn't just reveal your resilience, it builds it. It prepares you for the battles ahead, for the challenges yet to come. It reminds you that you are stronger than you think, tougher than you believe, and more capable than you've ever dared to imagine. Let's carry this strength with us as we continue to uncover the lessons that silence has to offer. Silence heals. Let me ask you something. When life feels overwhelming, when the weight of the world presses heavy on your shoulders, where do you go to find peace? Where do you go to heal? Most people seek escape in noise and distractions and anything that keeps their minds busy. But healing doesn't happen in chaos. It happens in silence. Silence, my friends, is the sanctuary where wounds are mended, where minds are calmed, and where hearts are made whole again. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's a presence. It's the presence of stillness, of space, of something bigger than the noise that surrounds us. It's a place where your thoughts can settle, like sand sinking to the bottom of a glass of water, leaving the surface clear and undisturbed. In that clarity, you begin to see what truly needs attention. You begin to see what's broken, what's hurting, and most importantly, what's needed to heal. Think about the times you felt most at peace, not just superficially happy, but truly at peace. Chances are, those moments didn't happen in the middle of chaos or in the roar of a crowd. They happened in the quiet, a walk in nature, a moment of reflection, a time spent alone in thought. That's because silence provides the environment your mind and soul need to recover. It's the calm after the storm, the breath after the struggle. In silence, you don't just heal emotionally, you heal mentally and even physically. The stress of daily life, constant demands, endless distractions, takes a toll on your body and mind. It wears you down, leaving you tired and vulnerable. But silence acts as a reset button. It allows your mind to process, to release what it's been holding on to. It gives your body a chance to relax, to let go of tension, to recharge. Silence, in its simplest form, is restorative. But here's the thing, silence doesn't force healing on you. It doesn't fix you overnight. It simply provides the space for healing to happen. And in that space, something remarkable occurs. You begin to hear yourself again. Not the stressed out, overworked version of yourself, but the real you. The you that dreams, that loves, that hopes. In the silence, you reconnect with that part of yourself, and that connection is the foundation of healing. Now, let me be honest, silence isn't always comfortable. When you're hurting, silence can feel like a spotlight on your pain. It can bring up emotions you'd rather avoid. But avoiding pain doesn't heal it. It only prolongs it. Silence challenges you to sit with your feelings, to face them, and ultimately to work through them. It's in that confrontation, uncomfortable as it may be, where true healing begins. So as we reflect on the power of silence, remember this: silence isn't just a pause, it's a sanctuary. It's the place where you can mend what's broken, soothe what's aching, and find the strength to move forward. Healing takes time and it takes space. Silence gives you both. Let this be a reminder as we continue exploring the wisdom that silence has to offer. Silence reveals the truth. Silence, my friends, is one of the most unrelenting forces in life, not because it forces change upon us, but because it unmasks the truths we often try to avoid. In silence, there are no distractions, no excuses, no smoke screens to hide behind. What remains in its purest and rawest form is the truth. Truth about who we are, where we're headed, and what needs to change if we want to reach our fullest potential. Silence reveals what the noise tries so desperately to drown out. You see, we live in a world filled with constant chatter, external voices telling us what to think, how to act, who to be, and if we're not careful, those voices will define us. They'll drown out our inner compass, the part of us that knows right from wrong, that knows what truly matters. But in silence, those external voices fade. And when they fade, the truth, your truth, rises to the surface. But here's the thing, the truth isn't always comfortable. In silence, we're confronted with our flaws, our mistakes, our regrets. We see the parts of ourselves we'd rather keep hidden, and that's why so many people avoid silence. They fear the honesty it demands. But let me tell you something, avoiding the truth doesn't change it. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. The only way to grow, to move forward, is to face it head on. And silence gives you the courage to do just that. Think of silence as a mirror. When you stand in front of it, you see yourself exactly as you are. No filters, no distractions. You see the strength in your eyes, the scars that tell your story, the determination etched in every line. But you also see what's holding you back, the fears, the insecurities, the self-doubt. And that's where the real power of silence lies. Because once you see the truth, you can no longer ignore it. You have to make a choice. Will you let it define you, or will you let it drive you to become better? Silence doesn't just reveal the truth about ourselves, it reveals the truth about the world around us. It allows us to see people for who they truly are, not who they pretend to be. It strips away the facades, the pretense, the noise, and exposes what's real. And in a world that often values appearances over authenticity, that's a rare and invaluable gift. But here's the beauty of silence. It doesn't judge. It doesn't point fingers or place blame. It simply holds up the truth and asks, what will you do with this? And that's the question we must all answer, because the truth, as uncomfortable as it might be, is the foundation upon which we can build a life of authenticity, integrity, and purpose. So as we continue this journey, let's embrace the truth that silence reveals. Let's face it with courage, learn from it with humility, and use it to guide us toward the life we're meant to live. Silence doesn't just show us who we are, it shows us who we can become. Let's hold on to that truth as we move forward. Silence connects us. Silence, as paradoxical as it may seem, is one of the most profound ways we connect with others. In a world dominated by words, conversations, and constant communication, silence stands apart as something that goes beyond the spoken. It transcends language, transcends culture, and creates a bridge that words sometimes fail to build. Silence, my friends, is not empty. It is full of meaning, and in that fullness, it binds us together in ways that noise never can. We often think of silence as a gap, an awkward pause to be filled. But consider this. What if silence is not the absence of connection, but its purest form? Think about those moments when words were unnecessary, a shared gaze with a loved one, a moment of quiet comfort after a loss, the deep sense of understanding that comes from simply being present with another person. These are the moments when silence speaks louder than any words ever could. Silence allows us to see beyond the surface. It strips away the distractions of speech, the facades we often wear, and reveals the truth of our emotions. It allows us to truly see each other, to feel each other. In silence, there is no need to explain, no need to justify. It is a space where we can simply be together in complete authenticity. And in that authenticity, there is a connection that is real and unbreakable. But silence doesn't just connect us emotionally, it connects us spiritually. There's something sacred about shared silence, something that taps into a deeper sense of unity. It's as if, in the stillness, we are reminded of the common threads that bind us as human beings, our hopes, our fears, our struggles, and our dreams. Silence creates a space for empathy to grow, for compassion to flourish. It reminds us that even in our differences, we are more alike than we realize. Now, let's be honest. Silence in relationships can be uncomfortable at times. We're conditioned to fill the void, to avoid the vulnerability that silence can bring. But here's the beauty of it. When you embrace silence, when you allow it to exist without trying to control it, it deepens the bond between you and those around you. It builds trust. It creates a sense of safety, of understanding, of acceptance. Silence says, I see you, I hear you, I am with you. Think about the greatest connections in your life. Were they built on endless words, or were they solidified in those quiet moments when words weren't necessary? Silence teaches us that connection isn't about saying the right thing. It's about being present. It's about showing up not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. It's about being open to the unspoken. So as we continue to explore the lessons of silence, let's remember its power to connect. Let's not fear the quiet moments, but embrace them. Because in those moments, we find each other, we find understanding, we find unity. And isn't that what life is ultimately about? Connection, togetherness, the shared experience of simply being human. Let's carry that truth forward as we discover what silence has yet to teach us. Silence is the foundation of discipline. Discipline, that cornerstone of achievement, is often misunderstood. People imagine it as loud, a forceful, rigid structure maintained through willpower and external pressures. But true discipline, the kind that transforms lives and elevates potential, is built in silence. It is born in those moments when no one is watching, when there's no applause and no instant gratification. Discipline, my friends, is a quiet conversation between you and your purpose. And silence provides the space where that dialogue can flourish. Silence demands something from you, self-control. In the stillness, distractions fall away. There are no excuses, no external validations to lean on. In that space, discipline thrives because it forces you to rely on one thing: your inner resolve. Silence is the testing ground for your commitment. Are you doing it for the outcome, or are you doing it for the process? When you sit alone in the quiet, you come face to face with your own accountability. The noise is gone, and all that remains is you and your goals. That's where discipline is forged. Think of an athlete rising before dawn to train, a writer wrestling with a blank page, an entrepreneur sketching out ideas long after the world has gone to sleep. In those moments, it's not applause or recognition that keeps them going, it's discipline. And where does that discipline come from? It comes from within, nurtured in silence. Silence strips away the distractions and the doubts, leaving a raw, focused determination that fuels effort after effort. But silence is not just the birthplace of discipline, it's its sustainer. Discipline is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. It's in the small, silent moments where you choose to keep going, to resist temptation, to stay the course. Silence reminds you of why you started in the first place. It provides the clarity to realign with your purpose and the strength to push forward, even when the path gets hard. The challenge, however, is that silence also exposes your weaknesses. It reveals where you've been inconsistent, where you've let yourself down, but it's not a bad thing, it's an opportunity. Silence holds up a mirror and says, this is where you are, now what are you going to do about it? And in that moment, discipline steps in. It says, let's not dwell on what went wrong, let's focus on what we can do now. Discipline, nurtured in silence, is not about perfection, it's about persistence. The true measure of discipline isn't in what you do when it's easy or when others are watching. It's in what you do when no one is around, when the world is quiet and the choice is entirely yours. Silence gives you the space to make that choice. It strengthens your resolve and builds the habits that shape your future. So, as we move forward, let's remember this. Silence is not the absence of discipline, it's its foundation. It's where the commitment begins and where it's renewed day after day. Discipline, like silence, is a quiet force, but its impact is anything but quiet. It changes lives. Let's carry that truth with us as we delve into the final lesson silence has to offer. Silence is power. Let me tell you something. Silence is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not surrender. And it is certainly not the absence of strength. Silence in its truest form is power. It is the calm before the storm, the steady hand before a daring move, the poised breath before a transformative leap. Too often, we mistake loudness for power. We equate noise with action, with importance, with impact. But real power, the kind that shapes lives and changes the course of history, is born in the quiet. Silence is the power of restraint. Think about it. In the heat of an argument, the person who can hold their tongue has the upper hand. It's easy to lash out, to react without thinking, to let the noise take over. But silence, the choice to pause, to reflect, to respond thoughtfully, that takes strength. That takes control. Silence allows you to rise above the chaos, to see the bigger picture, and to act with intention instead of impulse. Silence is also the power of preparation. The greatest achievements, the most remarkable breakthroughs, don't happen in the spotlight. They are born in the quiet hours of hard work, of planning, of perseverance. A powerful idea doesn't shout as it takes shape, it whispers. The effort you put in, away from the eyes of the world, becomes the foundation for your success. And when the moment comes to reveal that work, to step into the light, the silence you endured becomes your greatest ally. But silence doesn't just prepare you for external action, it strengthens you internally. In the quiet, you build confidence. You learn to trust yourself, to rely on your own instincts and judgments. You don't need validation from others because you've done the work in silence. That kind of self-assurance, that quiet confidence is unshakable. It doesn't need to prove itself because it already knows its worth. And let's not forget, silence is the power of presence. When you're silent, you're fully in the moment. You're not distracted by noise, by the chatter of the outside world. You're here now, fully engaged, fully aware. That presence is magnetic. It draws people in, commands respect, and creates a space where true connections can be made. Silence in its stillness speaks volumes. Perhaps most importantly, silence is the power of choice. It is the power to decide when to speak and when not to. It's not about staying silent forever. It's about knowing when your words will have the most impact. It's about using silence as a tool, as a strategy, as a statement. Silence says, I don't need to fill this space with words because my presence, my actions, my intentions, they speak for themselves. So as we bring this journey through silence to a close, let's remember its ultimate lesson. Silence is power. It is not the absence of action, but the foundation of it. It is not the void, but the force that fills it. Embrace the power of silence, and you will find that it amplifies everything you do. Let this be the truth you carry forward into every moment, every challenge, every opportunity. Silence is yours. Use it wisely. Embracing the power of silence, ladies and gentlemen, we have explored silence not as a mere absence of noise, but as a profound force that shapes our lives in ways we often overlook. Together, we've uncovered its secrets, examined its lessons, and felt its power. Silence, as we've seen, is not empty. It is full of potential, full of wisdom, full of transformation. From the very first keynote, we realized that silence is a master teacher. It teaches us to listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. It helps us tune out the distractions of the world and hear the whispers of our soul, the truths that guide us forward. And in listening, we discover the strength silence gives us, strength to face our fears, to confront our weaknesses, and to find resilience in the stillness. In silence, we don't crumble, we rise. We then learn that silence sharpens our focus. It clears the haze, revealing what truly matters and allowing us to pursue our goals with precision and clarity. From focus, we move to creativity, finding that silence is the fertile ground where ideas are born, where innovation takes its first breath. Silence is the birthplace of dreams and solutions, waiting for us to tap into its vast depths. But silence isn't just a force for our growth, it's also a sanctuary. It heals us, our minds, our bodies, our spirits. In silence, we mend what's broken. We soothe what's aching. We find the peace we need to move forward. And as we heal, silence reveals the truth. It shows us who we are, unfiltered and authentic. It strips away illusions and invites us to live with honesty and purpose. Silence, however, isn't only about solitude. It connects us. It creates moments of shared understanding, of empathy, of unity. It allows us to forge relationships that go beyond words, to build bonds that are unshakable. And within those bonds, silence teaches us discipline. It becomes the foundation for our commitment, our persistence, and our ability to make deliberate, purposeful choices. Finally, we arrived at the ultimate truth. Silence is power. It is the calm before the storm, the strength to hold steady, the clarity to act with intention. It is not a void, but a force that equips us to navigate life with confidence and purpose. Now, as we conclude this journey, I urge you to take what silence has offered. Embrace it. Don't fear it. Don't run from it. Let it guide you, strengthen you, and inspire you. Make space for silence in your life, because it is in that space where the greatest transformations occur. My call to action for you is simple. Start small. Find a moment each day to sit in silence, just you, your thoughts, and the stillness. Use that time to listen, to reflect, to recharge. Let silence teach you, heal you, and empower you. And as you do, remember that silence is not the absence of life. It is the symphony that under the melody of growth, resilience, and truth is always there, waiting to be heard. Let that symphony guide you toward the extraordinary. Go out there and live boldly, but never forget to honor the quiet that empowers it all.